Hello and good evening and welcome to the Car Sim and Race Driver Show with me, Hugh Hattrick, and a very special guest. It is Dalking.
Hi
Hello,
guys,
Dalking.
how we
It's
doing? All
great
right?
to it's great to see you tonight. And my goodness, what a sim racer you are! I've seen some of your ACC streams recently, and you cut through the field and lead away like there's no tomorrow. So we'll all be desperate to know how you managed to be so fast and what are all the secrets of how you're so good at sim racing. So yes, and we've got people in the chat already. So it's good to see Jerry, Aces, Brolly, and Drew as well watching too, and there's many more joining as we speak. So I'll ask you, Dalking, the question I ask all my guests: how did your love of sim racing? How did it all begin?
Yeah, so obviously just from a young age started doing motocross, and yeah, just the love of racing and just the community, of being in that environment from a young age. That's what I loved about racing. How everyone came together, and then obviously after that going to like Brands Hatch, Silverstone, and just the feeling it gives you, when you're at a live event watching British Superbikes, when you're watching Formula One cars, people on the limit, and yeah, always been drawn towards motorsport, always. So yeah.
And then did you start playing kind of race games as well? Did you have like PlayStations and things like that?
Not really. I was never really into gaming until literally probably 2019, I think, or maybe 2018. Got an Xbox, started playing F1 on a pad, and then just went on to Project Cars, got a wheel, went on to PC, and then it just sort of grew from there. And met so many good friends along the way as well now.
Yeah. And what is it that kind of, because obviously you do a lot of stuff on ACC. What is it about that game that you really like? What is it that makes it stand out for you?
Well, for me, it's just how realistic it feels. Like I've never drove a real race car, but even from just driving my real car and comparing it, and just the feeling I get, through the wheel. Like iRacing doesn't do it, Project Cars 2 doesn't do it, but this game just I feel so much through it, and obviously visually it's the best looking as well, and also the setup side of it, of how much data you can actually read. I know you can get the same sort of thing from iRacing, but I just feel like this game just gives you more, and the setups are a bit more realistic as well.
Yeah, it's quite a thing. So what would you say are your what makes you so fast on ACC? Because quite often I see you on a stream, you're already been leading. So you've obviously started well. And
I don't know if you've seen, but I lean quite a lot. So this is the reason why, I'm so fast at shifting away from the car. I don't know, maybe commitment. I do practice a lot. I'm on here every day, but I feel, a lot of people they find it hard to practice, hard to race. But I have such a love for racing. Like every day, I'm happy to get on. I'm happy to get on from work and race. So I never see it as a chore or a grind. I love the process of doing it.
Yeah. I'm going to say, so what is your favorite track and race car combination?
Mercedes Evo and Nordschleife together. That's that combination right there is the favorite for me.
Wow. That is quite a thing. Now, just to let all our viewers know that you're also a sim instructor with the Driver 61.
Yes, yes.
So how did all that come about?
Well, I think it was a couple of years ago. Got approached by Mike, great guy who runs side by side with Scott Mansell at Driver 61, and just sort of grew from there. Great guys at Driver 61. I could not fault them one little bit, a great team right there.
Yes, because anyone can kind of start, they can join up, and I've seen the adverts before for the sim courses.
I think I was actually the first instructor, the first one.
Oh, wow.
61, wow. Yeah. It's pretty cool.
Do you find that there's a kind of common fault that people have because obviously people want to go and do these courses to get faster, but do you find there's a kind of common faults that they have that they all kind of share, that they hopefully try and get rid of by the end of the course?
Yeah, so a lot of people have it's like, do you know when you go to do your driving test, right? And if you've been driving before, you always have them bad habits, and as soon as they get into the sim, you'll see them. They'll be flat out, and as they come to the corner, they'll just be slamming on the brakes, full brake all the way to the apex, no trail brake, and then they want to accelerate straight out. And that's always the main common fault. in racing, you want to carry as much momentum in and through and out of the corner, not flat out brake as hard as you can, stop and then go. You know, that there for me is always been the biggest fault.
Yeah. And do you find that people will blame their equipment rather than their own lack of skill?
So all the time. But let's clear this up. There's two guys I know who run a Logitech G920, and both they're alien quick, even still now. So Amir Husseini and my friend Van Olman, and they don't even update their PC, and they're right at the top of quickness, you know, the speed on ACC. So yeah, equipment does not matter. It really does. It does help. It does help. But if you understand your equipment, you can get the most out of it. You can still be at the top.
No, definitely. And now for everyone watching in the chat, you can ask questions too. All you need to do is write in the comments, and if you can put it in capital letters, and I can spot it a lot quicker and a lot easier, and I will put those questions. Yeah, I'll put those questions. I normally find that the chat asks the questions I don't dare. But no, it's all I'm sure good fun. Now, because this is the thing, because this is the chance to ask Dalking all of the big questions that you have about your racing and how to go faster. So we talked about people braking too abruptly and then accelerating late. What are other problems as well, or other things that can slow you down when you're trying to do a time trial or a good lap time?
Yeah, so obviously brake marker points are very important. Picking out the right brake points, not just what's the word right now? We're not willing it. I don't know what's the word here. Just sort of iron it up, you know, from lap to lap. Never having a set point. Always have a set point for your brake points. It doesn't matter. It doesn't. And try not to use the balls because they get taken out all the time. Try to use stuff on the side of the track. Never use the shadow. Yeah, that's got to be one of the main things. Have brake points set in stone that you know you can count on every lap. And that's also going to gain you so much consistency as well from that.
I was trying to do a little bit of that last night at Donington in the BMW M4, especially as we go through the kind of loop at the back. It was trying to, because you do have the boards at the side, but it was knowing roughly where you're braking. And then as your car deteriorated, or if it got better, or if it was wet or whatever it might be, you had to allow for more time or less time or whatever to try and get you around. And it took a lot of practice. I take it, is practice just the best thing, or I suppose if you do too much of the wrong practice, it might not help.
That's it. You know, you got to break down your practice in the right way. You know, so before you touch a setup, before you're doing whatever with the car, go out on track, learn your brake points, spot your brake points up, turning points, and then try to adjust the car afterwards. That's always what I do. You know.
Yeah. Now we have our first question, and it is from Jerry, and I'm afraid it's not sim related. He just says, "How long have you been growing that beard?"
Yeah, about a year now. I'm trying. It looks a bit scruffy at the minute, but I'm trying to get it thicker. I don't have the thickness yet, you know. So
that's the thing. I can never grow a beard. It just looks like kind of stubble when I try and grow anything. It's gonna, and that's always a mess. Of course, I also made the mistake. There was we were on the Streets of Crowd last night because I was a bit late going to it. And it was that they were doing the M4 for the 3 races. And for some unknown reason, I thought normally when they set it up, they only allow that car in the lobby. And of course, I went in and it didn't choose the BMW. I thought I had chosen it, and I ended up going in the Audi R8. But I didn't. I honestly didn't know. I went and did the practice, and I did a few laps of practice. Everything seemed fine. And it didn't dawn on me that the engine sound was slightly different. And then it was only when we were actually on the grid, and people said, "There's an Audi R8 in there," rather than an M4. So I was used as a skittle last night. They were attacking me and shoving me off from every angle. But it was great fun. I thought this was absolutely hilarious.
So you turned up to an M4 race in an Audi. Oh my god! That's every BMW's worst driver's nightmare right there.
It was something else. So I was attacked by the mob last night for doing that one. But thankfully for the last race, for the dry race, I managed to be able to, or the night race, I was able to put in the proper car for that one. Nice. But it was good fun. Now we've got Arcades here as well watching, and lots of fans as well, and I'm sure more will come along the way. But Lou J has said, not a question, but more of a comment. Dal, give me the McLaren rim since you're not using it, mate. That does look nice.
I will use it because I did love that rim. Obviously, I got quite a big hand, so I thought when I got the smaller rim, I wouldn't like it. I thought I'm going to try it, but this rim, you can be more accurate with it, even though it's a little bit smaller. It's definitely more. Yeah, I can definitely pinpoint the corners a little bit better, for sure.
Yeah, that's quite a thing. I think that you get some lovely equipment these days. It's just improving all the time. You've got to have a bit of a budget to be able to do it, but it's certainly nice. Now we've got ECTV who is tuned in, and he is saying, "Yo, Hugh, the king is on," and he's put the big muscles there. So he's obviously a big fan there for you. It's now I often, this is one of my administrators, Rue, and says I always blame my driving on not having load cell pedals. That's sort of my poor excuses. But everyone says that you're supposed to have load cell pedals. It does make quite a difference.
Yeah. So load cells, the wheel doesn't matter because every sim racer runs these. Because in sim racing, you don't want the curbs to pull you left and right. You know, in real racing, you can't sort of turn that on and off. But in sim racing, you can. You want to be able to use all the curbs without going onto the grass. With the pedals, like I always say, pedals will give you the most time in lap time and consistency. And load cells do make a big difference for sure. So if you had the money and the choice, I would always invest in the pedals first. You know, and the Thrustmaster load cell pedals, they're probably the cheapest ones out there, but they're just as good as Heisenfeld's V3s, Sprints. You know, they do the job.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm hoping my G29, which has lasted 4 years, actually done pretty well overall. But I'm hoping to upgrade in the next wee while. So it'll be interesting. What would you, if you could upgrade your sim completely for somebody like myself, who's going from a kind of budget sim to something that's, say, medium range? What would you recommend?
Well, yeah, the new DD wheel has just come out, right? The smaller version. What's it called? Is it the CSL DD wheel?
All right.
The new Fanatec. It's a direct drive wheel. You get 300. I think it's 300 newton meters. The torque out of it. It's really good, and it's 300. Where I think this wheel's like 1200. The base is like 1200. Where that one's only 300. Definitely worth getting for sure.
Yeah. I think that's going to be the.
You can't even get a base. You couldn't even get a Thrustmaster base for that price, and that's belt driven. So
yeah. It does sound like a fantastic thing. So you reckon that steering wheel, but the pedals, when we get the Thrustmaster pedals, or do you think there's better pedals out there?
Yeah. So I've had the Thrustmaster load cells. I've had the V3 load cells, and I've had I'm using Heisenfeld Sprints right now, and the Heisenfeld Sprints are at the top of that list. Wow, for sure. Yeah. They're definitely the best pedals, just because you can set so many profiles. So because I play iRace, I literally click a button and I have all 3 profiles ready to go set.
Oh, that's pretty good, isn't it? Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. Now we've got Vorter Racing, who has just recently joined us as well, which is fantastic. He does a lot of ACC and has also managed to do very well in iRacing. So it's good to see John Vorter in there with us. It reminds me, I'm sure there's an actor called John Vorter, is there not? I'm sure there is. I'm sure there is. So now that's the thing. Now we've got a question as well from Arkies. Now he says, sorry if I'm uninformed, but is Driver 61 both coaching for sim racing and real racing, or just sim racing?
No, both. If you go on the Driver 61 website, you can meet Scott anywhere in the world and the team. So yeah, you could do a couple of days at Spa with Scott or anywhere in England and on the sim as well. So it's super cool.
He's got a great name, that surname, and I'm sure everyone must ask him, is he related to Nigel?
Yeah. As far as I know, he get on his nerves. I definitely asked him. I definitely asked as well. Yeah,
I'm sure I saw a video where he said that he wasn't. So I thought, well, if ever I get a chance to speak to him, I will not ask that question, because that'll be the thing that'll switch him off. But now here we are from Jerry, NCF1. If you've ever been to a live F1 race, which I believe you have been,
I've been to Silverstone. I think 5 or 6 times. You know, maybe even more than that to watch F1. You know, I love F1. I love any motorsport. But yeah, if I can get there and watch it in real time, it's a bonus. I love it.
And what was your favourite moment? Because you've seen some great races. What would be your favourite moment of your F1 races?
Favorite moment. There's too
Being there
many.
live.
I can't just think off the top of my head right now. There's been too many. Right? What actually when I've been there live or
When you've been there live, what's been the most amazing?
Yeah, so whenever you go Silverstone, they always do a historic race.
Oh yeah,
and that to me, seeing them old cars, the 300T and everything going around is just unreal. The sound of them, that's always a pretty cool moment.
Yeah. And of course, on sim racing, you can actually drive some of those cars as well, can't you? Like the early 90s. If I was just racing one earlier on this evening, the kind of 1990s cars with the traction control, and it crackles away as you accelerate out of a bend. It's fantastic. So the only race I ever saw live Grand Prix was at Donington in 1993, and I saw Senna win on that incredible day. And I'll never forget it because it still puts the hairs up my back. When you saw them race round and you could see the drivers so clearly because they had virtually no protection around the side. Their whole shoulders were visible. But what's been, because if you've been at Silverstone, you must have seen some. Were you there for when Schumacher crashed out? Was when he broke his leg?
That's one of the years. I think that's one of the years I missed. I think to be fair, one of the biggest highlights I think I've ever seen was British touring cars at Brands Hatch when Camish was battling. Who was he battling? The guy in the BMW. I forgot his name now for the championship. And I was sitting inside the pit area, and I could see his Honda's brakes lighting up, and I was like, "Oh my god!" Next lap, he had a brake failure. That was an epic day of racing there as well.
Yeah, and Brands Hatch is such a great racetrack for close racing, isn't it? Whether it be from Formula Fords right the way through, isn't it? It always gets great racing. And of course, you had that Mansell Piquet battle way back. Was it in '87? Was it or '86 when they had that incredible race there? Of course, it doesn't do Formula One anymore because it's quite tight and doesn't have the runoff.
I think Formula One cars now go such a speed. I just don't think that track would be safe, for a Formula One car right now.
No, that's the thing. Now we've got a couple of questions here. From Aces Wally, it says, question: what made you start YouTube and sim racing?
Sim racing, I obviously just a love of racing. Was a bit bored one day, just sort of picked up a pad and just went from there. And then obviously met Jardier through all this, and he was streaming his race. I was like, he was having great battles, and I was like, I want to show my point of view as well to the world of some of these epic races. And it just went from there, So
absolutely. Oh, that's fantastic. Now I've also got a comment here from Jerry saying he was at Brands Hatch that day too, watching the same race. He was battling Colin Turkington.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. It was one of the best days of racing I think I've ever seen. It was crazy because it was wet. I will never forget. It was wet to dry as well. And I think in the first race, one of them was on the wrong tire. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I know that's the thing. And Rue had also agreed it was Turkington, so he must have been on Google looking up all the results to get it all right. Now we've got a question from Lou J saying, if VR was perfectly functional in Sims, do you think it gives an advantage over triple screens? And if so, what advantages?
For me personally, I don't like in sim racing. So just think about this in sim racing. Any live esports event is never going to be in VR. So for anyone racing in VR, it may give you an advantage at home, but if you ever went to a live event, you're going to have to go back on a screen. So for me personally, it would never benefit me. And I've actually tried VR, and I don't think the tech yet is at that point where it's good enough. I think it needs to be a little bit better for sim racing.
Yeah. Now here's a good question from Back. When will you join Thea's Three's a Crowd races on Wednesday?
I've actually got I'm actually free now for a few Wednesdays, so maybe next week, or maybe I'll jump in and. That
would be fantastic. Because it's we've got like Martin Lewis, is it, and Mike. They always seem to be up there, dominant at the front. I'm sure they could do with some more competition to see how you do it. But because they're a lot of fun. Because you know Thea quite well. How did you get to meet all them? Was it through the more female racers?
Just obviously we all sort of do the same thing for the YouTube, right? And obviously their channels pop up, and I think Jeff reached out, or we were chatting on his stream, and on a Fear stream, and Jeff sort of reached out, and I started to chat to Jeff, and then started to chat into a Fear, and just sort of all goes from there. And that's just one thing as well. Like the racing community, everyone's really friendly, and that's what it's like being in a paddock, being at a race yourself. You know when you're staying there in a tent or in your caravan, whatever, and everyone's sitting around. It's just like that. I feel just everyone's at home behind a PC.
Yeah. Well, now that you've said that you're going to join Thayer's a crowd potentially, everyone's asking that question, and I think they all want you to join their own groups and their own championships. We've got Aces Bois, who hopefully I hope I'm pronouncing that. I know he said I don't know if I pronounced that right or not. He says, when will you join Grey Wolf Racing? And he's put a lots of love on the back of there.
We'll see. I race nearly every night, so yeah, it's hard to slot everyone's championship in, right?
Yeah. Rue has described me saying, Hugh is always near the front of something, a queue, a bus stop, or a KFC line. I think that latter one is probably the most accurate. But that's the one. But lots of people do racing for different reasons, and you've certainly got it, on you very, very fast and that kind of thing. But what do you find is your kind of fan base, your subs? What's the most kind of common question that they ask you when you're on stream?
Turn the overlay off the setup screen. I'm a nightmare for that. if any of my supporters are in there, they know that. So obviously for my Patreons, because I make all my own setups, I sort of give them to the Patreons. So I hide the setups, and I always forget to turn the screen off. So that's normally the main question I get.
That was the thing. I once managed to get quite a good setup. I remember one of the first times I did a Three's a Crowd, and Thea, because I was watching her stream on my second monitor to kind of keep up to date with what was happening, and she was doing her tire pressures, and because we were in the same car, I did the same tire pressures as her for that. Like, it actually made my car a lot more drivable compared to what I had. And then she was wondering, and then I put in the thing and said, "I've just copied your tire pressures," and she's like, "What's going on?" But no, it is good. But I think that is the nice thing about the community, isn't it? We do actually share a lot of the what we do together, and it really kind of makes it work. And how, because your community has grown really well. Do you have any kind of major reasons why, again, your channel and you're so popular?
I don't really know why anyone would follow me, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe I feel like I'm pretty not upfront, but I'm pretty open about what I'm feeling, what I'm thinking about games and updates and everything, and I try to help the community, especially my community, as much as possible with letting them know what's good, what's not good, what cars to take, and we sort of we learn this process together. I'm not scared to take a car that's not meant to be good or great, and it's just one of them. We're all on this journey together, So
yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. Now we've got a question here from ECTV. He says, "What do you think is the biggest thing to focus on for someone who is a solid driver looking to become good?"
So basically reaching that next step is just keep at it, it will come, and try not to. So a lot of people, when they're good drivers and they're trying to find them like last few temps just to make it that a little bit quicker, they'll just grind for hours and hours, and like I said, they just forget about the process. Just try to practice that. At least try to do 1 hour and then have a break for 10-15 minutes, come away from the PC, grab a drink, and then come back to it. And try not to stay on the same track for too long as well. Keep trying to swap your tracks up. And for people in ACC, the biggest thing, stay in one car. If you're trying to find that ultimate pace, try not to swap to too many cars, especially if you're new to sim racing, I would say.
Yeah. Fantastic. Dylan D has joined us as well. So it's good to see you, and feel free to write comments and questions here. And a question for TMK, from Matt from TMK Racing. It is, do you prefer 60-minute races or endurance like 6 to 12 hour, and why?
Yeah, so for me, I prefer endurance racing. Just for the fact that I prefer the strategy sort of side of it as well. And normally you find as well, people are not as manic as 60-minute races. You don't see as many dive bombs or as many people sending it as in a 60-minute race. And I find in endurance races, there's normally a team of you as well, so it's normally more fun, as well.
Yeah, exactly. When you've got to do driver changes and things like that. But yeah, and now I've got a question here Aces Y says, when you do endurance races, you cannot cut the stream like 10 hours early because you finished your stints. I suppose you've got to keep going right the way through. But YouTube, of course, can only stream this at 12 hours at a time, and then you've got to reset it.
Yeah. So you just do like 2 or 3 parts of a. You just do 2 or 3 parts, you know. So you do like 8 hours, stop it, second part, cut it, and then third part, just cut it.
And what's been, I was going to say, there's a question not from the chat but from me. What's been your most successful race, or the thing you're most proud of in sim racing? What's been your biggest victory?
I suppose making it any esports. I've done the Logitech G final in Germany where I think I come 3rd or 4th.
Wow.
I've raced the Project Cars 2 World Cup.
Wow.
Most of these races are pretty cool. Like to go to live events is super cool. But I think any win is special, especially on the level of ACC right now. There's so many good drivers. So just to be at the front of that is epic,
Yeah. And are you hoping that maybe if you continue on with that kind of success, you might get a chance to maybe drive a real racing car at some point?
Yeah. I might have to lose a bit of weight, but hopefully one day. But I genuinely do love sim racing as well.
Yeah,
I do. And if I never got to drive a real race car, but I get to race sim, I'm fine with that as well.
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. Because I think the way that sim racing is going, just getting bigger and bigger, and hopefully as we start to see the other side of COVID, there'll be more events all around the world that people will be able to go. And also, I think maybe it's in Britain as well. There's lots of sim racing at Goodwood. I was fortunate enough to help run the GT Sports race that they did there it was the last thing on the Sunday on the Goodwood Festival of Speed, and that was fantastic. What do you think how do you think it's going to develop with sim racing? What would you like to see happening?
Yeah, for me, I would love to see like a young driver program for young people who haven't got the means or the money to enter go-karting or racing, but that's for them to be a way to come through sim racing into that. You've seen it through James Baldwin. He's done it. He's got a real race. He beat Sebastian Vettel at the real race, whatever it was or something, and then got a real drive in a GT car. So it can be done, but I'd love to see that on a bigger scale. That's what I really would like to promote, and maybe one day organize, just have like some young driver programs, just to help people come out to sim who deserve to get a real race car seat.
That would be amazing. I think that's what most of us sim racers all would ultimately like. We kind of probably fantasize about it, especially the ones like me, they're not that fast. But we would like the idea of being able to, what we've learned on the sim, we can then go and have a go in real life. Now we've got lots of new people joining. We've got Rockefeller Racing. We've got Jason Foster. And in fact, Jason Foster said, when is he going to give his brother his Fanatec wheel? So it sounds like there's a demand there.
He's already had Fanatec pedals, a PC, and a monitor. So he's doing okay at the minute. So.
Yes, don't give away anything on this channel before there might be.
He's getting too fast anyway, so we need to keep him at a decent level. Not get above me.
Yeah, you don't want to threaten your career there with giving away your stuff. Now, just to let everyone know who's watching today, we have a massive catalogue of not just Dalking here on our interviews, but we've got people like David Perel, Super GT, Tidgley, all of the big GT Sport and sim racing legends. They're all in our catalogue. And if you like what you see, hit that like button. And even more, if you want to subscribe, you'll never miss an interview. And we've got, as I say, a huge back catalogue of fantastic interviews with legends like Dalking tonight. So remember, you can ask questions, just put them in capital letters, and that allows me to see them a lot better, a lot easier. Now, Back has asked, what race car would you drive and on what track if given the chance?
Yeah, so I've sort of already answered that one. The Mercedes Evo on Nürburgring Nordschleife. That for me right there is the dream combo. It's my favourite racetrack to drive, hands down. Yeah, no, that sounds like a magnificent combination. Because the Mercedes sounds incredible as well. That engine, it's something else. And there's something about ACC that the way that they get the sounds are fantastic, aren't they? They just come, especially wearing the earphones. ACC doesn't have the launch life on it. I have to go on Race Room to actually still race that track because obviously coming from Project Cars, that was my favorite track. If I was ever bored, I would jump on there and just lap. You know, I just find it I find it so fun. You know,
Yeah.
it's just so demanding. It's such a cool track.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I'll just quickly looking through the questions here. Now, Rockefeller Racing has said, I wish it was easier for a sim racer to be signed by the real esports teams. That,
Yeah, so everyone has this dream. They think if they make it to an esports team, their sim racing career is gonna make it. You know, you guys can do this by yourself. You don't need to be in a team, you know, to make it to events. Most events, like there is some esports events that are just only team based, but most of them on ACC and iRacing, you got to do time trials by yourself anyway to get in.
yeah,
You know, so get a good group of mates, find people who are about your same sort of level, and start working on setups together and try to get through it that way.
yeah. No, that's the thing. Now, Jerry has asked, what is it about the green hell that appeals to you?
Just our technical is our technical and just it's the best racetrack. You can't make one mistake. I was in a wall, you know, and to race that in real life. Wow, no, that would be pretty insane. Yeah,
it makes you think how crazy it was when people like Niki Lauda and all those racing drivers of the past raced F1 round there. It was so dangerous, unbelievably dangerous.
Now, you know, even now, like I forgot the guy's name who races in a Porsche. He done a VLM and it was wet. And I don't know if anyone's seen. There's actually a YouTube video out there. He's in the Porsche and I think he overtakes 20 people in the wet. Round the outside, round Nordschleife, and just no fear. I can't remember the guy's name. Maybe someone in the chat can help me out here. It was probably one of the best races I think I've ever seen.
That does sound. You've got to be pretty brave to go around the outside of people in the wet. In the Nordschleife. That's for sure. Now, Dylan D has asked a very sensible question here. What do you think about the updates to the ACC CP servers in the EU?
I'm not a big fan of them. I don't like half-hour races. You can go do on any public lobby. You know, you can do that online. I felt like the CP servers had that. They were just different from them. They were hour races. It was just better. You know, I don't like the short half-hour races. I preferred it the other way it was. On the updates, I love the new BOP not BOP. Sorry, I love the updates to the tires and the brakes. But I'm not a big fan of the BOP at the minute, the balance of performance. I feel like there's too big a difference from the BMW and the McLaren down at the minute. Yeah.
Now, we've got an answer to your previous question from ECTV. He has said Kevin Estra.
Yeah, that's it. Kevin. Yeah, sorry. His name, so that when I'm on the spot, I always forget names. Yeah, Kevin Estra. He's probably one of the craziest Porsche drivers I've ever seen. And anyone out there, if you type in Kevin Estra at Nordschleife, it will come up, and you just got to watch the first lap. It was like he was on a different track, you know, and that's crazy.
So you say that you love F1 and all the kind of racing things. Who are your kind of F1 heroes? Who would you?
He's got obviously just all the ones the same as everyone. You know, Michael Schumacher. Who else? Jim Clark. You know, just yeah. Anyone who makes it to F1, pretty cool. But yeah, all the top names, you know.
Yeah, no, it's quite because I used to live in the town of Duns, which of course has the Jim Clark Museum.
Oh, really?
And they've just done it up a couple of years ago. They did it up, and Jackie Stewart came to launch it. Wow. It's a great place. I'm about an hour away from there now, but it's a fantastic museum. And Dario Franchitti, he brought the Lotus Cortina that Jim Clark owned.
Wow.
And it was in the showroom, and he did a wee video on it. But they've got some great guys. They've also got an old 1968 style Formula One simulator. So you fit in, and it's really good actually. Yeah, it's great fun. And it's only like a $5 or something to get in. The ticket lasts a year, so it's a bargain to do it. But it's brought a lot to Duns actually, and it is great. But so you would have seen Schumacher race quite a few times. Did you when you went to Silverstone? Did you kind of look out for that famous helmet?
Yeah, that's it. I think I was there the first year as well that the new hybrid engines come out. With Rosberg and that. So that was pretty cool moment. It was really wet though. I'll never forget that. It was really wet and cold.
and also the cars were so much quieter, weren't they, compared to the V8s previous? How did you find that? Did you like it, or were you like?
And I still do hate them, and I hate the new ones coming as well with the big wheels. They need to go back to the V12 era, you know, when the cars were really good looking.
Yeah, that's it. I always think Jean Alesi's 1995 Ferrari was one of the best looking cars. It just had the nose cone, the whole thing. It looked like a proper Formula One, and that V12 engine that they had in it was just sing.
I feel like they're just getting more and more futuristic, and some things just are cool the way they were, you know. Maybe go back a little bit instead of going off in this crazy way.
I have to say, I know the hybrids are very efficient, and to be fair, they are louder than they used to be. But I miss the noise. I mean, we used to go to Jerez in Spain to watch the test.
Horrific. Yeah, crazy.
It was great. It was great fun because it was like €10 to get in, and you could watch the whole thing. And my favourite point it was when they used to do their practice starts and their practice warm-ups, because then they would bounce the cars off the rev limiters as they would come around the last few bends, and then it's just like watching a start, and then you'd have about 3 or 4 cars all do it together, and they'd come onto the grid, and then they would all do their practice starts, and away they go.
That's cool.
And it was the most incredible thing you could hear. But no, that was the thing. And of course, you would have seen, because you said you went to some of the races at the early 2000s or late 90s. So you had like the V10s as well. That must have been something.
Yeah, obviously. Just when I was little, you know, cover your ears sort of thing. It was just insane. And to be fair, that's one thing you don't forget as a kid, you know, just the sound of the V12s and the V10s. And I feel like the era now just doesn't have that. It doesn't have that certain buzz.
It's lost its kind of show. I feel with that, because it needed the noise was the thing that kind of got you going.
Whenever you hear any V12, you always turn to look, right? You can't help yourself but do it, especially if you're a car lover, you know, just a motorsport enthusiast as well. It's just
remember last year when they had Alonso driving that Renault V10 around Abu Dhabi, and they were interviewing Hamilton at the same time, and of course, he looked round.
Yeah, you know, because that's what they do. That's what they do to you, you know. Like it's just the noise of it. Just and hopefully one day maybe we will get back there, but I don't know.
Well, they reckon they might. Was it the possibility of 3-cylinder engines? And they're going to rev like bike engines, aren't they? They're going to be quite high revving. So maybe we might get a little bit more sound with things like that. But it would be. I certainly hope we get a bit more of a rev range, because when those amazing high revs came, I think that's what did it.
I do love the hybrid engines. Don't get me wrong. Like of how complicated and how good they actually are. You know, with the the DRS and ERS, whatever, and you know, saving energy and using, like, I think how much they get from the battery pack, like 180 brake horsepower boost.
It's incredible. And they're about 30% more efficient than they were before. And I think the compression and the efficiency that they've made the petrol engine as well is incredible. And eventually that's coming through, which kind of makes me think, why are they getting rid of all of that to go electric? When actually, why can't we just let that kind of technology go out into production cars, and we'd all be better off anyway? Probably without the cost and all the kind of heaviness of a battery car, you know, electric car. But we've got a good question on a similar line from Lou J. He says, what are your thoughts on the electric hybrids like the 918, the Tesla, and Formula E?
I like the Formula E. I feel like the tracks need to be a little bit bigger, a little bit wider, you know. Tesla, just innovation again, isn't it? You know, it is incredible of how far they are coming along. But I am through and through a petrol head. You know, they will never top any petrol race car for me.
I know that's the thing. I always remember when I was watching the '93 race. And at that time, when the lights went on, it just simply went from red to green. That's all it was. And when we were at the back end of the Darlington loop, and when the cars did their warm-up lap and then they came onto the grid, all you heard was the revs go up like this, and then it dropped, and then off, and then you could hear the traction as it kind of crackled, and off they went. And it was just
you can't actually beat that feeling, and that's something we're going to lose if everything goes full electric, you know. And I feel like you will lose the buzz of being at an event, you know.
Do you think the characters of those kind of early 90s or kind of late 80s, early 90s racers, like, you know, you had Senna, Prost, Mansell, Schumacher, incredible era, and then now you've got Hamilton, who's won 7, possibly coming on to his 8th, and then you've got Verstappen. Do you think they still share that kind of, exceptional talents and character, or kind of charisma? Or do you think that was something more suited to the older drivers or the older generation?
Yeah, I feel like everything is just getting more and more woke, right, in a certain degree, which is a bit of a shame. A bit of a shame, I think if you had Senna and all them guys from the 80s and some of the things that were going on now, you know what they would have said to you, right? Where to go. So, yeah.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. I mean, I'm a massive Hamilton fan in terms of what he's been able to achieve. I think his racing has been incredible. I think that race, Fuji 2007 in the wet, when it was mist and everything, and he won that race in incredible, epic style. And I always remember Brundle saying, if he wins the World Championship, it's worth that race alone, because that race was such an incredible victory. But as he started his politics, that's kind of put me off. I just think
that's it. Like for me, like you wanna look at an F1 driver, with all the girls around him out doing whatever, not turning up in green wellies.
Exactly.
It's just I don't know, but he is, for me, he's unreal talent. You don't win that amount of championships for not being. He's probably going to be one of the greatest of all times. So
it's how you compare a Senna to even a Lewis Hamilton, but I feel when you think that they've both done incredibly well talented, but you kind of think, what would Senna have done if he had continued on? If things had been different, because he was revered. I always remember it was Murray Walker that would say that when Senna came into the room, everybody stopped and they waited to hear what he was going to say. So it's that kind of thing. Now, Rue's rambles. He said that current F1 engines are better than 60% efficient. Gas turbines have hardly cracked that. So this shows you how efficient these new F1 engines are, which is
no, like I said, the innovation and the technology that goes into them now is beyond belief of how good it is, But I just don't want to see it go full electric, no sound, just totally futuristic, And I understand F1 is the pinnacle of motorsport. But I hope they still do keep to a certain, like I want the aero package now to grow. I do. Maybe keep the energy like the ERS, but I still want to hear a V12 or a V10 or V8 engine in there.
Yes, I think because I'd heard that with Renault on some of their cars. They had developed something so that it sounded like an F1 car on a Renault Zoe. And that's great. I would buy one. I would honestly think I would try and get that download. If I could get it to work on it, because that's what you'd want, and then just have a fake gearbox, have some flappy paddles, so at least you can pretend it sounds like something. Because that's the thing, you don't hear an electric car coming along the road, but you would certainly hear it if it sounded like one from a V10 from 1995 or something. You'd be
you'd be looking at the rad. Where's that coming from?
Some old dearie in a Renault Zoe, but that would certainly make it a bit more interesting. Now, TMK has said, does Dalking have a Discord? I'm sure you do. In fact, I know you do.
Yes, I do. Yes.
And in fact, we need to put. I've got your YouTube link here.
So if you have a look at my latest video, in the description will be a link straight to my Discord and on all my social medias. So.
Yeah. And here's an interesting point from Rui. He said, hilarious that Dominicali, his statement about politics isn't for a Formula One. Why they all do all the BLM and gender politics. Lots of love. So it's kind of in there, isn't it? And they can't really say that it's not there when they kind of cover it all, or that's in there. And Lou J has said, TMK, the link is in the channel videos in the description, which is great. Now, we've got TH3 Detox has joined us as well. And Noel DeJesus has asked us as well. He is in the chat, and he's saying, Dalking, a legend and a great friend. So lots of your fans here. And of course, they can ask questions. Just put it in capitals and I'll be able to ask it there. Now, Rockefeller Racing has said, if they sound like the Mazda 787B, it could have one wheel and I'd want it.
Yeah, nice. I've actually seen that car. So I raced, we did like a Forza motorsport race, like a team event. A show in Birmingham, and they actually had that there. So it's like the Auto Sport show. I think it was the Auto Sport show, and they actually had the Mazda that Mazda there, and it was really small. You wouldn't believe it. And literally, it was in the front of the car was just fiberglass, like, and then there was their feet and pedals. Like, if they had a big crash at Le Mans, your front of your body, your legs would just be gone. It's crazy.
Yeah. No, it's pretty. It was so, and because of the speeds, it is something else. Now I do have to make a quick apology. No, I've pronounced Noel's surname wrong. He said it's Noel DeJesus. Sorry about that. I pronounced the G when I shouldn't have done. But that's all right. And it's good to see Blaster is in the chat as well, which is fantastic. Now you've got lots of great equipment there, and before we started, you showed me some of the technology. So what kind of things help you decipher how to go faster on track?
Yeah, so our main thing is Motec. Anyone who plays ACCI racing knows Motec is the way to read your laps, braking point. So you'll get your fastest lap, and then you'll break down, compare it to other laps. Maybe you've got better sectors. Just basically where you're braking, input, where you're braking, accelerating, steering angle. And then maybe you'll adjust your setup through dampeners, rake or something. And Motec allows you to do all of this. You know, it's a great thing inside ACC. I actually made a workbook. It's actually on my Discord. So if you're interested in Motec, I did a YouTube video on it, and my actual workbook for it is in there as well.
Wow. So would you recommend Motec then for most people who do PC racing?
Yeah, if you want to get faster and you want to improve, for sure. You know, just the basics on there will help you understand where you're going wrong. Yeah.
And is it something that's quite, in terms of, is it quite expensive or is it quite accessible?
Yeah, but Motec's totally free. Motec's totally free.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Yeah, you can go onto the Motec website, download it. It's already inside the game. You just need to turn it on. Because you must have seen it. It says telemetry, where your ABS and TC control settings are. It says telemetry laps. You just turn that on, turn them laps up, and then it will start reading into a folder.
Wow. So that sounds like a definite one. Now we've got a request here because Noel has said, has Dalking really met Schumacher?
I've never met him. I've seen him race, but I wish I had the privilege of meeting him. That would have been pretty cool, right?
Yeah. Who else would you like to meet? Who would be your kind of top drivers that you could meet them?
Top drivers for me now. If I could meet anyone, it'd be Ken Roxon, who's a motocross and supercross star. Probably I've met Lando Norris a few times.
Oh wow, that's pretty good.
A few events. Only for like literally 1 or 2 seconds. Said hello.
Still nice to say hello though.
Yeah. Do you know what? I'd like to meet Toprak. He's a world superbike rider. I think he's pretty cool. You know, Jonathan Ray. There's a few of them guys, but in F1, do you know what? I don't think I want to meet Lewis because I think I'd be disappointed. You know, so I'm not too sure. Probably Kimi Räikkönen. If I had to meet any F1 driver, probably have to be him because you wouldn't walk away disappointed. You know.
Yeah. No, I think Kimi Räikkönen would be fun though. I think it's always he's had an incredible career. It'll be a different place without him. When he goes. Now, TH3 Detox has said, can you ask Dal if he is the Stig?
Yeah, on ACC I am for sure.
There you go. And Blaster Anonymous has asked, do you play the F1 games as well?
No. I think I had last year's one, but I only did a few laps. It's not realistic enough for me. Once you come from ACC, iRacing and Race Room, you can't really play them games. Well, it just don't feel good.
Yeah, it is. It's not quite as real as some of the others, I think, isn't it? Just like that.
Yeah, I just don't get the enjoyment out of it at all.
Yeah,
compared to ACC or anything else.
Now that's the thing. And Rockefeller Racing has said that you would really like to meet David Perel. But it's got the smiley faces at the end of it. So I take
David Perel. I'm the biggest fan of David Perel, honestly. Biggest fan. I would shake at the knees if I get to meet that man. No, David is a great guy. I spoke to him. Obviously, I race SimGrid. You know, I've never actually met him in real life, but he seems like a super nice guy. Hopefully, he watches this interview. And David, I said really nice things. A few Spa 24-hour tickets. You know, while you're driving a Ferrari, I'll come see you in the pits. That'll be lovely.
I might have to give him I'll send him an email. You know, and that's the one. But no, he's a fantastic guy. and his streams are really good as well. I've been fortunate enough to have him on the show a few times, and he always has great detail of how to drive quickly and how to analyze laps and all these kind of things. So no, it is great. So tell me, what would be your kind of hopes for the future for your channel?
Yeah, just to grow, just to grow, just have a massive community, just to help, and then maybe at some point win a championship. That's always the main goal, to win like a massive esports championship. But if that doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But then for me, I don't want to race competitively and do this all the time. I'd rather help people with setups. And like I said, I'd love to do some sort of youth program, at some point, and bring younger drivers through at some point through the channel. Maybe we could do this, and I think that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, well, that's my long-term goal is to hopefully get a sim center and have a place set up so people can come in, get the young folk in, people who are interested, and give them a real chance, because there's not that many about, and also to get good technology, because it is a fantastically exciting sport, and it is accessible now. But to get good tech and get them in and try and make some teams and see who's good and try and raise some new talent, I think that's definitely the way to go. See how it all goes. But now, Microbatic has said, greetings to my man Dal, my sim hero, he says.
Yeah, Micro, how you doing, bud? Hope you're good.
And Lou J has said his biggest hope for his channel is that I stop spamming his chat with bad jokes.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
No, I'm sure that's a great thing about having the community there, isn't it? They all rise up to the challenge, and it is fantastic. And we've got Killian RM, who's also saying, Dal, my babe. So it's you've definitely got fans coming from all.
Oh well, he's Irish, so just got to let him go over here a little bit. No, yeah. One thing I've got to say, I feel like I have one of the best communities. I have such a good, awesome group of people around me in my streams, in the Discord, and honestly, they make sim racing for me. It does make it even better. So yeah, thank you to all them who's watching and are always there and giving me grief when I do some not some cool stuff, but yeah, always there when we're up or down. So yeah.
Oh, fantastic. In fact, I'll give you the words if you'd like to say anything to them as to what you're doing in the next few days or next week.
So tomorrow we're doing Mount Panorama Sim Grid. I think David Perel's actually racing. It was the Black Friday race, got moved to this week, so that'll be cool. Right. And then 12 hours of Mizano on Saturday. Wow. So that's super fun.
You're not going to get much sleep over this weekend then. You'll be knackered by the end of it.
I will do if I win. I'll sleep happily if I win.
Oh, that's fantastic. We're actually going to be commentating. Rue and I are going to be commentating on Thea's Rush Hour series tomorrow, which is at Donington. So that's going to be fun, because I think it could well be a wet race. So that'll be from about 7:00ish, I think, tomorrow, or 8:00, or maybe about 8:30. So we'll be doing that too. So there'll be lots of good streams to watch. And of course, Dalking's YouTube link is in the description. So if you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe to his channel. And if you like what you've seen here tonight, give us a like and a subscribe. We've got a huge back catalogue of interviews just like Dalking and more, and even David Perel. We've got 3 of them. So it's worth definitely subscribing. Now, John Vorter has said, do you plan to do more iRacing?
Yes, I do. Not just yet, because obviously the new update for ACC's come out, but definitely but I reckon by the end of January, I definitely want to be doing one league a week, one night a week, racing the league on it.
Oh, fantastic. They say that if you have VR on iRacing, it's supposed to be brilliant. Yeah. I would like to get VR eventually and try and get that set up. And Back has also asked, is the RCI race a 12-hour one?
It's not RCI, it's actually LFM, German league.
All right, okie doke. And Lou J has said, just wanted to say, I've seen Dal streams more than I've seen my own family, thanks to the pandemic. He's kept me from feeling as lonely as so many do right now. So a massive thanks from me to you, man.
Oh, so, yes. That's a lovely comment. And to everyone out there as well, the streaming helps me connect with everyone as well. Through lockdowns, through whatever's going on, so it's a good place to come away and forget all the politics, forget what's going on in the world. So yeah, thank you to everyone.
It is fantastic. I think sim racing has been able to bring a lot of people together who otherwise would never have met, and it just goes from strength to strength. which is fantastic. And Rockefeller Racing, it says, you've got a sub from me, mate. Oh, which is very kind. Always thankful to that. It's very, very kind to get new subs. But yeah, so there we go. It's been 55 minutes of absolute questions and answers from Dalking tonight, a true legend of the sim racing grid and sim racing and the sport. And as you can see, we've got not only just ways to go faster, but the tech to go with it as well. And we'll be looking forward to getting to see how you get on tomorrow for the sim grid. Can you beat David Perel? In fact, will David Perel speak to you if you do beat him? That might be that might be the thing. But BA back, I said, Dalking, the leading master. So you like to lean into the veins. Well, look, it's been absolutely. Sorry.
I was going to say that's where the speed comes from. You're not going fast enough if you're not leaning.
Exactly. Yeah, no, absolutely. No, that's the way to do it, isn't it? And it's strange because you feel you kind of have to when you get into a race, isn't it, to kind of bring the car around. But no, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you as a guest on the show, and thank you so much for coming on and giving your time to us tonight to answer all these questions. And it's great. Thanks so much to the chat and everybody watching and listening for your great questions. It's kept us all going, and Dalking hasn't blushed yet. So you've been very kind to him, which is great. But you've been watching the Car 7 Race Driver Show with me, Hugh Hattrick, and my very special guest here tonight. It is Dalking.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Thank you, guys.
Take care, everyone, and drive fast and try not to crash. And we'll see you very soon. Bye just now.